Good morning, YouTube. Well, today's the day we're taking the snowblower off the John Deere d160, storing it for the summer. And a few people have inquired about the bracket I fabricated here that supports a winch that I use to raise and lower the snowblower. So I thought I'd make a short video and go through a few things and help you out with some measurements. First thing you'll notice, I do pull the skid plates off on each side of the snowblower, and I mount just two small wheels, and these are old barbecue wheels, and it just makes it easier to move the snowblower assembly out. I stored it in an outbuilding, and I just lift it from the back here and it pivots, and I can move it around, roll it around back out there. So as you can see, this is generally where the snowblower assembly sits, where the bracket assembly sits. I've taken all the bolts out. I didn't want you to have to watch me pull bolts here, but I've pulled all the bolts out. It's just sitting here. I'll go through the wiring. This is the power for the winch assembly, and that's just mounted. They just get bolted on right there. And this small wire here, also power, and it's powered for these auxiliary lights. And that's just an option I put on, extra lighting. And I run this wire inside the cowling, under the cowling, the engine cowling. And it comes up inside the cab to this small controller. So now you're looking out front. And it's just an up and down. These are the switches I use to run the auxiliary lights. And there's a rotating blue light on top of the cab, and I use that switch there for that. Now we'll just come around to the back of the tractor, moving to the side. This is a switch I mounted to rotate the chute assembly. So I can rotate the chute left and right, and I use a power window motor from a Toyota car, and I'll show you that. I got a spare one on the bench, and I can show you that. But I run its wiring inside the cowling, and it just comes out here, and I've already unplugged it from that small motor right there. The small motor's right under that bracket there, and like I said, I've got one on the bench that I can show you, and I can help you out with that too. So if we move back to this side, I'll pull the winch assembly off, then we'll take some measurements, and I just got it sitting here, so I'll get this up on the bench, and that's it sitting by itself. So I got a tape measure here. Let's go back to the tractor. So what I do, when this tractor was new, it came with a bumper, and the bumper slid into this position here. So right where these two brackets are, one on each side of the tractor, this is a 1/4 by 2 flat bar. And it's 13 inches long. So if you pull your bumper off, you can replace the bumper assembly with these two brackets. And if you have a quick look under the tractor here, well, it's hard to see, but there's already two existing holes, and that's what I use to mount this bracket. So once you make these two brackets, they're 13 inches long, 1/4 by 2 flat bar, 1/4 by 2, you can leave them in position. Now that will support the winch, and it'll also support the bumper. So in the summertime I mount the bumper right in position. In the winter I pull the bumper off, and I mount the winch assembly right there. It's 1/4 by 2, 13 inches long. So the other dimension you need is the width of your frame. Now I'm going to say most of these little tractors, the L series as well as this D series tractors, pretty much the same, but you got to verify the width of your frame, and this one here is about 13 1/4. So once you have that dimension, you can come in here and fabricate this bracket. So I made this U-shaped piece here. It's 16 inches high to the top here. Then there's a bend down this side, and I left it at 13 1/2. So that just slides over top those two brackets, and that's what I use to mount it in position. So there's a bottom bar here. I put that in, and I put this cross brace in just to support this winch. So there's a bar behind here, goes all the way to the bottom of this one, and it's just welded there, welded there. and that's what supports the winch. Just a simple 1,500-pound certified winch, and it has no problem lifting that little snowblower. And it's been a really good little winch. I did change the cable. I put a strap here. The cable tends to bird nests, and that was becoming a pain. So I just pulled off the cable, found a strap, and that works a lot better. Now I fabricated these light brackets, and this is just a simple L bracket. And this one here is this piece here is 10 inches long, and it's mounted about 8 inches. So the bend is about 8 inches up, so 6 inches from here, and then 6 inches wide. And I only went with that dimension only because the lights I bought were 6 inches wide. So that centers it well. It really doesn't need that much bracket, but it looks okay that way, and I was happy with that. You could bend these in any position you want. You could raise and lower them in any position you want. But that's basically the winch assembly. So let's move over to the motor assembly I use for the rotator, and this is a little bit trickier. But this is a power steering motor, power window motor out of a Toyota car, and that's exactly what's in there right now. This is just a spare. The guy was nice enough to give me two, actually. He said, "Here, take a second one." So what I do is pop this cap off. This shaft will come out, and I got a spare shaft here that one of my experiments here that I used, and this is the piece that actually is in there. And this piece here I made, and I welded it onto the end of this shaft. So then when you put it all back together, and it is very simple. You pop the cap off. There's a small there's a small retaining clip that'll go through, and that's what's driving that shaft. So if we come over to this, to where it's mounted here, I made this bracket right here. This plate right here is just a 1/8 plate, and I cut it about the shape of the motor just to hide some of the motor, protect some of that motor. I bolted the motor to the back of this plate. I bolted this plate to the top of the snowblower assembly right here. So there's a bolt here that's holding this plate. This bolt here is holding this plate up in position. These 3 bolts are holding the back of the motor in position. They're holding the motor in position. And this is the power for it, which you saw I unplugged. So if you go through this, let's see if I can get around here to have a better look. There's that small coupling that we had on the bench, right there. So it's going through the back of that motor. I cut the shaft, so this is the original shaft that came with the snowblower assembly. So I cut the shaft to length, slid it in position, and I have 2 set screws. One, you can't see the other one, but it's on the back side here. 2 set screws that are holding this shaft from rotating. And when you power that little motor, left and right, it spins this shaft, which is the normal way you would do it, except that you're not doing it by hand anymore. This little motor's spinning it. And there's the end of the motor right there. It's hidden underneath. And that just rolls this shaft along, and it drives it around. It's very easy to do. There's a little bit of fooling around to get it all to fit nice, but I believe this is the only hole I had to drill. This was an existing hole, and this is the one I made. So it's just a piece of flat plate on the back. We'll go through that one more time. It's a little hard to see. There it is there. And I put a side on here just to protect the motor a bit. I was worried about the snow, but it's been no issue at all. And that's bolted right up there. So this here is the original piece from the tractor, and that's what you use to change the height of the chute, so you can lower the chute up and down. So that I haven't modified. That sits inside the cab, and it was okay. So that was fine. And I know it's a little difficult to see right here. It's if you have any questions, you can just pass them along, and I'll do my best to get better information for you. Okay, thanks for now.